do not write cake and ice cream, so if any of you are offended, please hit me up afterwards and I'll kindly explain why I use the words I use, why I emphasize the things what I do. There are 3 characters in the scene. 2 are not human, 1 is. I was sitting in my apartment in Compton after I got priced out of Highland Park in 2017, and I was thinking, how do I emphasize how I feel when some gentry not only kicks me out of my neighborhood, but steals my fucking identity, dresses like me, thinks that, oh, if I drink the beer he drinks, hang out where he hangs out, I'm gonna be just like the working class. I'm gonna be just like them. And I'm like, maybe since this is a horror story, I'm gonna portray them like vampires, only they don't drink blood. They drink culture. Monday, November 2nd, 1:42 a.m. Keys rattled in a lock. Footsteps coming inside. ¿De quién es esta casa? A young voice whispered as the apartment door shut. By the way, my dad is Anglo-Jewish, my mom is Mexican, so don't mind my Pocho accent.
What? Hey! That's not good. Hey, don't give away your secret.
Victoria's body trembled in the dark in response to this, reacting like a starved animal smelling food through an open window. She could not move, but what was left of her senses knew that the real deal was on the plate nearby. Es tu nuevo hogar, mi amor, another more familiar voice said in response. It was the waitress from the bar, that girl who had captured her and taken her back to her home. She heard a few sloppy kisses and the sound of a bottle being uncorked as the 2 women moved furniture around in the kitchen. Victoria began to process their conversation in English, being too weak to work with anything else, even considering that she spoke every language known and unknown on the planet. Wait, no. Someone's on the couch, that first voice again. I thought you said we would have some privacy, girl. It's fine, it's just my abuela, and she's asleep. Here, come take a look, say hi, and then we go to my room. That's really killing the mood for me. I think I'm gonna go home. Victoria heard a loud thump, followed by feet skidding across the room towards her. A light was turned on, her blanket was pulled off, and right in front of her, on the carpet near the couch, was a girl, probably in her early 20s. She was a beautiful, full-figured morena in a black huipil dress embroidered with colorful flowers. An ornate calavera with tiny crucifixes was painted on her face. She looked scared shitless as she saw Victoria, all dried up and half dead, trembling like a zombie on the couch. The poor girl started to scramble back on the carpet as Victoria's head rattled in seizure spasms. In the full light, having gone so long without food, Victoria looked even more deteriorated than she had back at the bar where she'd been captured. Her hair was almost non-existent, fingernails black and pitted with dead blood, teeth jagged and stained, with a tongue breaded and purple scabs hanging loosely between them. The skin had come off her flesh like old rice paper, and her breath, wheezing out towards the frightened girl on the carpet, was a bouquet of rotten fish and entrails and hepatitis flatulence. It was both nauseating and terrifying, those last few moments. The girl, too scared to even stand up, her heart rate caustic, scene and scent, making tears and bile well out and up from her eyes and throat. And then out of nowhere, she dropped into a trance, sat calmly on her shins, and began reciting something. Heat up the comal, char en chile de agua y ajo. A faint typing could be heard in the background. Letting the pata simmer on a low heat, prepping the masa on the side for. The typing continued as Victoria, now sitting up on the couch with a bit of returning strength and stature, leaned heavily on her knees, listening to the girl's litany. An almost imperceptible thread that looked like floating tar connected her and the girl, mincing onion, cilantro, and tossing in the harmony of bay leaf. Tap, tap, tap. Victoria's face began to fill out. Her hair was thick and rich again, a healthy shade of brown with gray streaks. She now looked like a well-kept woman in her late 40s. The dark thread had grown denser, now flecked with intermittent motes of gold. Tap, tap, tap. Into the bowl with oregano, sliced rábano, repollo y tap, 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 tap. Aguacate, queso fresco con tus tortillas. Tap, 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 tap. I think that's the last of it, Victoria heard the waitress said, along with the sound of a laptop closing shut as she oriented herself and stood up off the couch. The girl slept soundly on the floor now, muttering something inaudible. There's a mirror in the bathroom, the waitress said. Feel free to walk around. The front door is locked. Just you and me here. And your little friend, Victoria commented, indicating the girl on the floor as she walked to the bathroom and opened the door. She leaned over the old porcelain sink with its antique handles and took a brief look around. This was obviously one of those renovated into the nostalgic appeal of old LA apartments that transplant gentry fell head over heels for. They loved dropping mom and dad's hard-earned money indiscriminately into places like this because they believed that the thematic value of being housed in an authentic LA architectural artifact like the Gaylord Building on Wilshire Boulevard or the Douglas Building on Spring Street would somehow transform them into an authentic Angelino. Fucking idiots.
Yeah!
Gazing at her reflection, gently plucking at her lashes and running fingers through her brown curls, Victoria looked pleased. She had the face and body of a girl in her mid to late 20s again, and all of the strength and abilities had fully returned. She walked out of the room and sat down at the kitchen table opposite the waitress, who was now busy pouring 2 shots of La Gritona tequila. You know, I could kill you right here and now, Victoria said. The waitress took a shot and stared up at Victoria. So, why haven't you? She smiled. Notwithstanding the fact that you saved my life, I want to hear what you have to say. Why you went through so much risk and trouble to get me here and such. Also, I need the byproduct of what you were typing. This last she said with a finger pointing at the waitress's laptop. My name is Alina, the waitress said in response, sliding the second shot of tequila across the table with expert precision, not a drop spilled. Alina, Victoria questioned, picking up the shot glass and downing the tequila without looking away from the girl. Alina Peters, the girl said, as if her name was supposed to elicit familiarity. And yes, I do have a lot to say, a lot to do. She paused, a contemplative look on her face. Things so important that I risked my life to capture you. I'm listening, Victoria said. It's going to be a long presentation, Miss Kane. I think you better finish your meal first. Alina slid the laptop across the table. Victoria opened it and took a look at the recipe that Alina had cataloged from the girl on the floor. Her forced relinquishment of an old family recipe, the sacred spice and substance that was hers and her people's, which Victoria and Alina had now stolen for the purpose of what appeared to be some sort of alchemical/parasitical cultural appropriation. Committed to memory, Victoria said calmly. I'll have my realtor find a local spot to renovate, my architect and interior design people on standby to design and decorate, and I'll hand this recipe over to my finest, artisanal, streetwise rugged, punk rock edgy, farm-to-table fable peddling, semantic circus menu writing, eco-conscious and name-only as part of their marketing structure, chipster vendido, fusion motivated Michelin star celebrity chef to mutilate. Oops. I think our friend has already seen the future on that account, Alina said, indicating the girl on the carpet raving in whispers. Yes, the disease we leave them with after we take their culture away does forge a link. It makes them hunger for the shadow play that we make out of their culture, that we thieve from their heart and soul. They see it like a fortune teller ghoul after we fed on them. Listen. Victoria cocked an ear towards the carpet, and they both made out the faint words coming from the girl on the carpet. Braised tempeh and veggie bouillon pozole. Victoria and Alina looked unsurprised, as if what was happening was as commonplace and unworthy of comment as the dust floating in the rays of lamplight in the kitchen. Vegan quinoa cauliflower meal tortillas, $26 per shared plate, served with raspberry yuzu pico de gallo chutney. So, what happens to the real recipe, Alina asked. Ha, Victoria laughed. With all that's happened tonight, I was sure you knew everything about us Barons. Victoria slid the glass back across the table, indicating that she wanted another shot. Handcrafted horchata breading, gluten-free conchas for chocolate. The girl on the floor continued to mutter during their conversation, her voice becoming more whitewashed with every word she spoke. Alina poured the tequila and slid the glass back. I'm sorry, everyone, I'm sorry. Then you can talk to me about all this after.
Sorry.
You're doing your job tonight. That hurt me.
I wrote this when I was crying in a lot of pain, and I hate these people. I wrote it.
Doing a job.
Okay, Alina poured the tequila and set the glass back. I knew enough to know that you don't actually kill your food, and that calling it a simple energy transfer doesn't do justice to what happens when you feed, or more to the point, that that's not all that happens. We used to kill, Victoria smiled with menace, knocking back the tequila before she continued. It became obvious to us later that this was unnecessary and impractical. Like this planet's hunter-gatherers when it finally dawned on them that growing and cultivating food was more sustainable than just taking what they could find. Jackfruit carnitas served over soy flour soapies with edamame pate. That still doesn't answer my question, Alina replied. Tenacious? Victoria grinned, sliding the shot glass back again. What do you really want from me? The full eating and shitting habits of my people? Maybe a couple of juicy details on our preferential methods of intercourse?
These are real people.
I asked first, Alina said calmly, already tipping 2 fresh shots into the glasses. Refabricated farm-to-table, free-trade Jamaica, sweetened with agave nectar cultivated in the garden of a sapiosexual indie publishing house co-op that does psychotherapy for rescue dogs.
Yeah.
Deconstructed taquitos with avocado harissa aioli dipping sauce. The girl on the floor finished and then started to snore loudly. Where are my cigarettes? Victoria asked, either stalling or maybe just in plain need of nicotine before she gave Alina the full picture. Alina patiently reached into a coat that was draped around the chair, pulled out Victoria's cigarette case and Ronson lighter, and walked over to her, handing them over gently, her gesture indicating that she knew the things were antiques and possibly near and dear to Victoria. Victoria, seemingly reading her thoughts, lit up a cigarette and mumbled through the filter in her lips. Look, Victoria said matter-of-factly, exhaling again, you want that recipe? Authentic and full of all the richness of its source? Then I suggest you go to Beverly Hills, Brentwood, downtown Los Angeles, Santa Monica, Redondo, or Newport Beach in a few months. It will be served, small portion of pretentious demitas decorated with paintings of Aztec deities. The location will more than likely place some brand of bastardized mariachi in the background, and the waitstaff will hand-make tortillas tableside in black salt molcajetes lined in copper alloy. The patrons will enjoy this at $78 per serving and be inured to the idea that they should pair the dish with $19 agave wine margaritas or $27 mezcal Manhattans. Frida Kahlo paintings will cover every inch of every wall, and any gentry jackass with 5 minutes to spare on a Wikipedia search prior to arrival will impress their ethnic human date with how knowledgeable they are on salsa making techniques and Mexican history. Meanwhile, in places like Echo Park, Highland Park, Cypress Park, a few of the areas that I've heard tell that we hide our cattle and your children in Los Angeles. Meanwhile, in these areas, the culture-raped version of what we do with the authentic culture will be available for consumption. Fusion tacos, pseudo-ethnic street fairs, more mock cultural bars like the one you captured me in tonight. So, there's your answer. That is what we do with the culture we read from humans. Put it up for sale for us and ours, while they feed on the sad, culturally devoid mess that we make out of it through culinary innovation in the neighborhoods that we allow to live them in at murderous rent prices. Woo! Thank you.
Oh my goodness. This man, right? Local Highland Park, born and raised.
Nobody knows me because I've been a topo over the last 7 years. So.
He's been underground. He's been underground, so he came to the res underground. But honestly, like, this is art. This is like our voices.
Yep.
Nathan, I wanted to highlight you at the end because, like, you are Highland Park, right? I'm from El Sereno, over the hill. Not quite the same, but it's the same. But moving forward, you guys, like, check out his books. He's like, no one wants to hear this stuff. And I'm like, it's real.
Are you kidding?
Like, it's fucking real, so.
Can I just one thing?
Yeah.
The biggest part that's an insult to me is that the people that cause these problems are now sticking their fucking fingers in the pie, starting their little bookstores everywhere, and say, oh, I hate the gentrification I caused too. But by the way, Nathan, we're not going to put your book in our store because it's too real.
Correct.
That's what I mean by that.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
So you guys check out Nathan. His Instagram is.
You forgot his Instagram.
I like him already.
That's how real he is. I love the Offbeat. I love you guys for being here tonight. The Riders Underground being hosted at this like amazing hometown bar, moving forward, we might come back. Thank you, Nathan. Give it up for